Hi everybody, welcome to the final day of the Banter Salon here at CultureTECH. My name is Jim Carroll and CultureTECH and Derry has finally driven me up the walls. We're coming to you live and direct from the city walls overlooking the Bogside, and I'm joined today by Tim and Jez from the Utah Saints. Welcome to Derry, boys.
Thank you.
Is this your first time in Derry?
It's our first time in Derry, but it's great to be here on this sunny day, and it's a fantastic place. It's just like we're really blown away with it, with how it is so far.
Well, look forward to it because this is one of the rare sunny days in Derry. Sorry, Derry people, it really is. I suppose my first question when I heard the Utah Saints were going to be here for this was like, where are the Utah Saints at in 2013? What's your kind of like average week like these days?
Average week it's pretty much been the same for 20 years. It's just that we kind of disengage ourselves a little bit from things and then re-engage at different points. And basically, an average week for us is studio Monday to Friday. Gigs Friday, Saturday, studio Monday to Friday, and that's pretty much it. And
Sunday's a travel day.
I mean, in amongst that, there's other bits of your job that you have to do, meetings and business stuff and all that kind of thing. But the music business has changed a lot, as everyone keeps saying and knows. It's almost become self-prophesizing to a degree. And for us now, we've got several different things we do. We put on our own nights. We promote our own nights. We're just starting to do some music for trailers and films and that kind of thing. We remix other artists and we do our own tracks. So all the time we do music, and you always end up living things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just for the benefit of anyone watching at home, that was a musket being fired from the walls of the city walls. Nothing to do with Utah Saints whatsoever, you know. So sorry about that, Frank. I knew that was going to happen. I could see when we were going.
You could see it on your face, and then suddenly there was a bang, and then I just didn't know what was happening.
You probably thought he was pointing it towards us. This may be something we will address for the next interview, and also the fact that there's wasps around as well. Okay, this is super casual, and I've now lost my train of thought completely. No, my train of thought is kind of, I suppose, the gigs you do these days as Utah Saints, have they changed? I mean, like you're here in Derry, there's two of you. Yeah. Is there like, are the days of the 17-piece bands touring the States for 3 or 4 months over?
At the moment, yeah. We go out and DJ, and we kind of play our own music and we re-edit it and play other people's records and just have a good time, really. Yeah. But back in the day, we used to go out and do the whole band thing, and part of the reason why we did that was right at the start was that one of our early records kind of got going in America, and back at that time, it's like, as Jez was saying, things have changed a lot since then. But in America, in order to try and get dance music off the ground, probably it was 1991, 92. We had to present it as a full band, so we went out. We had 2 drummers, we had guitar. Whereas now, for example, I saw Calvin Harris a few weeks ago, and a Calvin Harris gig would be him playing his music, and then he'd go on the mic and he'd sing, and that's kind of acceptable now as a live thing, and that's great, and it just shows how things have changed. But
it's become a lot more about the production now, and that is actually what we were trying to do right back when we started. We were trying to do that. We were trying to use, but technology just wasn't up to scratch at the time. I mean, we looked into taking a big marquee out and putting it inside venues and then projecting onto the outside of the marquee to make the whole outside environment of the gig move. We couldn't do that then, but you could do it now, and now we haven't got the budget to do it. But also, for us, I think a natural kind of environment would be either a small, sweaty club, which is where we started, or a festival stage where we just, even when we're DJing now, we some festivals will get a mosh pit going and people bouncing and stuff, and that's would you feel at home in both kind of environments. It's just that now people will accept 2 guys with some technology and decks and stuff, whereas when we started they wouldn't.
It's really interesting, as you said, well, Tim, about the way the American audiences have embraced EDM and like the way they've taken it, because it's like it's seen, it's obviously it's not brand new, because there was obviously when you were around there in the 90s, there was that film Go in the late 1990s as well, to kind of cover that array thing, but it's now become uber large. Do you tour the States still, and are you very aware of the fact that audience is younger and younger, and what they're after in many ways is quite homogeneous. It's quite homogeneous in a way.
Because I mean, at the start we did, like, I can remember going on a DJ tour, for example, with playing with Aphex Twin and Moby and Orbital, and going around America, and we were playing like on a Sunday we were playing like a shopping mall in the Midwest, and 200 people would turn up, and now that kind of lineup would be expected to be put in a stadium almost, or and everything's going crazy in Vegas at the moment with the massive DJ fees and massive lineups and that. And I think a big thing, reason why it's changed in America is you can see a lot of the hip hop artists and the R&B thing, they're doing more up tempo music now, and it's a big thing in America is the radio play. So music's getting played on the radio. But I find it also quite weird because back in the day we put out electronic music over there, and it was electronic EDM, and we sold close to 500,000 albums, so for EDM to be sort of just taking off now, I still find it a bit weird because it was like an underground thing which was going on in New York, LA, but it's gone to the masses now. But we haven't been over there and toured for sort of a couple of years, and I mean part of the reason for that is because we haven't put any new music out because we've been concentrating on other things, but it is something that's on our radar, and we do feel even though we've been doing this for 20 years, we're totally on top of our game in terms of the music we're playing, and up to date on everything. So if someone said you're going to go play Vegas tomorrow night, we'd just jump on a plane and do it, and we'd be totally at home doing that.
You're talking there about not having something new out in quite some time. Do you feel as well that there's no need to put it out right now, or just kind of think you're just concentrating on the gigs, the clubs, the label?
To be 100% honest about it, the issue we have generally is that once you've had a couple of hits, and over the years we've had, I think we've had 9 top 20s or something like that, but there's a lot of pressure on the next one doing as well as the previous one. So what happens is you just end up stopping yourself, to be honest. As an artist, you kind of get a bit caught between wanting to do something new and interesting. At the same time, you have to put the other bits in place, like it has to be sort of have the hook elements and sound commercial and work within a certain time frame. And when you're writing, we've always found that bit, we've always been worried about it, and it's held us back playing stuff to people. So I think that generally we'll put out stuff on our own label and just keep things ticking over, and then when we've got something that we think is pretty special, then we'll push it out. And to be honest, that's probably not the best advice to give. If I was advising anybody else, I'd say just keep putting stuff out regardless of, it's almost more about quantity sometimes than quality. But for us,
because people today starting out can go from being sort of nothing to worldwide superstars, 3 records, and to selling out, massive things. And back in the day, that did take quite a bit longer. So it's interesting times though, and but I do think at any point we could just come out and put another big record out. But equally, we might just go in the studio and do soundtrack music for 6 months.
Is something good still a good earner for you? Is it still bringing in royalties? And the other big question as well is that in terms of advice in that, do you own the masters to that?
No, well, we own. There was a remake in 2008, which we remade basically, and we licensed the masters of that to Ministry of Sound. But in terms of income, no, we don't get massive income because we've always used samples. So generally, we've given away about 60% of most of our tracks, and then we split the remaining 40%. We get we've got management thing and so on. So we end up with about, between us, probably 20-25% of each track. And over 20 years, basically financially, it's a scary roller coaster that goes up and down. So you have to. We've never been millionaires or anything like that, and we've never had a constant income. You don't know from one year to the next what you're going to earn. So it's tricky from that point of view. But at the same time, we've more or less done what we wanted to do. So that's the price you kind of pay for that.
You both kind of mentioned at different junctures earlier on about technology and how much technology has changed and things you've actually been doing right now. Do you find it really interesting or frustrating, the fact that you can do so much right now with this technology in your studio compared to what you could have done many years ago?
I think it's great that what you can do now, because it's like anybody can go out and buy a computer and download some software and make a finished record without and you can have that out to the world without anybody else telling you it's no good. You can put it up there, you can make your video, and you can do everything pretty cheap. The hard thing about that is that a lot of people are doing it, so to get the quality through there,
That's been a theme this week actually, with a lot of conversations about the fact that just because the technology is easy to get and technology is easy to use right now, it doesn't mean that doesn't necessarily result in great art.
No, you're right. I mean, the fascinating thing, I tell you what I do miss. I miss the maths of it, because back in the day with samples, if you're pitching stuff, if you want something to remain at the same pitch, you just have to stretch the sample out, and you used to have a logarithmic chart to work out how to keep it at the same pitch and stuff. And it would take, you could literally set the machine to do this to the sampler, go out, make yourself a cup of tea, come back, and it would be finished in about 10 minutes. Then you listen to it and think it was wrong, then you have to do this whole thing. So sometimes we'd be working with one sample for maybe 2 weeks and getting into the absolute tiny bits of it, and now you can do the same thing instantly. And so from the point of view of doing sketches for music, it's brilliant, because you can sketch out a thing really fast, get an idea of whether it's going to work or not, a lot faster than you used to be able to. However, you're right, you still need a good idea, and you still need a good something good, no pun intended, to come out at the end of it.
We used to pay for the studio, so we'd say book studio, and we've got like 2 days, and or 2 or 3 days, and in those 2 or 3 days we had to finish a track, so we paid, I think it was a couple £100 a day for the studio. So, but we knew at the end of that time we had to come out with a finished thing. Yeah. Whereas now, if you've got a computer, you can then you can save it, take it onto a laptop, take the laptop home, do a bit of work at night, and nothing's, sometimes it's never finished.
Yeah, but that's exactly, that's a really good point.
And to get that record out, like we put our first records out ourselves on a white label, and so in order to sort of take a record to the next level, you have to sort of put some kind of financial investment yourself. So you have to think that record is good, and whereas now if you put something out there, there's no financial investment. So anybody, you can put stuff out there. If it goes, it goes. If it doesn't matter. And that's a good thing. But equally, it makes finding the good material sometimes a little bit harder.
There's a parallel to be drawn, like with cameras and photography, because years ago, if you were taking photographs, you considered yourself to be a photographer, you were dealing with film, and film was finite. You only had so much of it. Whereas now with a digital camera, you can just take pictures like that over and over again. Go home, discard 600 pictures, and use just one.
Well, that's
and then you
exactly
can go and download, Photoshop plugins and make your things look better, and everybody then can think, right, actually, I'm a good photographer. Whereas, it's the same with music as well. You can download lots of plugins to make you sound suddenly, you can sound bigger and everything like that, but to actually get into it and study it and work out why it sounded bigger, it takes a bit longer.
And also, I was going to say, if you're a perfectionist, it's a nightmare, because you can take a track, and this will apply to, you're right, film, photography, writing, any kind of art that's got uses technology, is that you've just got infinite possibilities. So we'll take a track, and then suddenly you think, I wonder what this sounds like with pianos on it, or strings, or a sound I've made of dog back in the background, or some traffic. And you can apply all this, you can literally drive yourself mad if you're trying to explore every single possibility for that track, maybe speed it up, slow it down, and so on. So finding the discipline to actually stop and go, actually, this could be better, but I'm going to abandon it now and move on, is quite hard, actually. So it's liberating in one sense, and it's actually inhibiting in others.
This is a question for you, Tim. As a former record shop, employee, a person who actually worked there, do you miss the vinyl days?
Yes, I do. I used to go out. Both of us used to go out every weekend to spend all our money, all our DJ money, and go to record shops. And the thing I used to like about it was that you had to sort of go to a record shop and go through the crates, kind of thing, and you'd find tracks that kind of they were yours, because you might not be able to get them in other places, and you'd sort of hunted that record down, and it just made it a little bit more special. Whereas now it's very easy just to go online, search it, and you got it in your, And I like both things. I use some sort of technology now, whereas there's the thing where you get a piece of time-coded vinyl. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yes, yeah.
And then all your music's from the computer, and I think something like that, I think it's fantastic though, because you can make your own versions of tracks and you can make your own edits, and it feels like you're playing a record.
Yeah.
But I do miss kind of going to the record shop and sort of just going through records and the whole sort of social thing about it, and it's just a nice experience. But whereas things change really.
Yeah.
And
you
don't sound like an old git.
No, there's always a dangerous when that question is asked. We all three of us sound like old gits because we talk about records, because we had some people, we had a music innovation panel earlier in the week, and this guy from Sony Music talking about they have a research panel, and they were talking about like what comes up in this research panel when they talk to teenagers, and they've never heard of albums. To them, an album's a photo album, so it's like it's the way things change on. But I suppose keeping the question regarding change, and the final question, thank you very much for your time. The final question basically is like, what's ahead for the Utah Saints then? I mean, where do you see things going in 5 years' time? Do you think for 5 years' time will you have moved into film work? Will you have actually released more music, or do you reckon you'll still be like doing gigs like we'll be doing tonight?
In 5 years' time, I think we'll still be putting. We still got ambition in the singles thing, and we've only put 2 albums out in 20 years. So it'd be nice to put a third one out, just to make a little trilogy.
We've never done a greatest hits album yet, so we need to do that.
That could be his third album.
Yeah.
But I think also the reason our albums always took so long is that certainly our second album, we were trying to make every track a single essentially, and that was why I think that I think that was why our albums took so long, because we were trying to make everything into a single. So where we'll be doing film stuff, we'll be putting tracks out.
Jesus Christ! That was awesome. Gigs off tonight, mate. Years ago.
Jeez, I was just thinking the same thing. We will be moving.
Yeah.
Did you get it?
Yeah. Do you want me to finish?
Let's kind of just I suppose started from kind of like what you were saying about like, you know, we've only released 2 albums in 20 years.
Yeah, we've only really released 2 albums in 20 years. So it'd be nice to do a third one. I think we've got a third album in this, possibly a fourth. We've got the concept for the fourth. We just need to get the third one out of the way. And I think we've always got something to offer. We're still like, we've never done an old school kind of revivalist type of thing. We've never gone up that route, and we never will. What's interesting for us is always what's happening tomorrow with the music. There's no rear view mirror for Utah Saints.
Yeah. We
just keep going forwards, and as long as we find music exciting, we'll keep on putting it out, whether that's through films or releases or whatever. But we're just a bit pig-headed when it comes to giving up, really.
Cool. One final question, actually, before we close. I told something there. Have you had any kind of like experiences over the years with record labels that you'd like to kind of relate to viewers? Good, bad, or ugly?
After 20 years, we've got all sorts of anecdotes, really. We've always got on pretty well with most of the people that work at record companies, to be honest. And it's because we've got into understanding what it was. A lot of people go into things saying, we've got this special deal where we've got creative control. To a degree, you have got creative control, but you have to work out what you're trying to do. And if you're trying to earn a living out of music, you have to balance your creative control with what people want to listen to. And the record company generally understands what people want to listen to be honest. And I think they get a bad rep because of the bad old days, so to speak. But I think the music industry as a whole now is quite naturally being pared down to people who are passionate about music again. I don't think people go into it. People go into music now, I think, less for the lifestyle. There's still, you get your blips for Vegas and things like that. But generally, the core of it, and people working at music, in the music industry, at record companies and so on, I think are more music driven now than they ever have been, which is a fantastic thing.
Cool. Jez, Tim, Utah Saints, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.